I had some stomach pains and I went to the toilet early hours of the morning, and then sort of half an hour past being on the loo, and then she appeared.
Right, so you thought that... it's rather crass, I'm trying to think of a way I can say it without offending people. You thought that you were going to pass.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I thought once I did, then the stomach pain would go away.
Yeah.
So, like, my body sort of, in a way, was telling itself to push, in a way.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought was happening.
You thought you were going to the toilet to relieve yourself. In the end, actually, what you relieved yourself was a baby.
Yeah.
And when you looked down into the pan and there was a baby in the pan, what on earth
she was
do you think?
bum first as well, so that sort of
crumbs.
saved her life. If she'd have been head first, then it wouldn't have been so good.
So Louise was there dangling there, and you're sitting on the toilet. I think your mum came to your rescue.
I ran and got her. The cord snapped, and I ran down. Because Mum and Dad had their bedroom downstairs, and I ran and got her and woke her up and told her.
You must have been absolutely screaming, I've just had a baby.
I don't know. I don't think I really realised that at first.
In your own words, just talk me through what you were thinking, if you can remember, because it must have been one hell of a shock. What were you thinking when you thought, I've just gone to the toilet, and all of a sudden, I didn't know I was pregnant, but I not only have found out I'm pregnant, I've actually just given birth in the bog.
In a way, I was just quite surprised how sort of much my stomach had shrunk. I didn't have, like, a bump, but my stomach seemed quite a bit, and I was doing sort of pressing it, and then that was caused me to hemorrhage. So really, because I was quite young and naive, I was a young 16-year-old, if you know what I mean, not a mature one. I don't really think I was aware of the reality really until I was left alone with her in hospital.
And at that point, then it really must have come home pretty quickly to you that you're now a mum and what's happened.
I didn't know. I didn't want her, like, when she was asleep, I didn't want her to wake up because I didn't know what to do. So I had to call a nurse every time, like, she woke up, because I was scared I was going to do something wrong.
How scary? It must have been quite scary. I know we're talking about it today and we can laugh about it now, but at the time you must have been absolutely terrified. Here you are at 16 with no experience, and probably more importantly, no time to gen up and to learn about what to do with such a young child. And all of a sudden, you're a mum.
Well, I had to become a mum. She needed me, so I had to grow up and overnight become a mum. I had no choice.
Yeah. When you retell this story, people like me are probably fixated with the whole toilet element of it and the fact that you can just give birth without knowing about it, simply because we watch programmes like One Born Every Minute or The Maternity Ward, and you see these women shouting in pain, writhing in agony. How could you not know you're giving birth?
Well, I have friends who have had children since, and they always ask me, does it hurt? And I'm probably the wrong person to ask, to be fair, because I always say no. But I suppose it depends on the person. Because I had no one telling me it was going to hurt, because I didn't realise that was what was happening, I suppose you don't have the time to tell yourself in your head it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think pain can sometimes be psychological.
Absolutely.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't make light of it, can I? Because I'm never going to go through this. But I'm not saying you're the kind of girl that's it's sneeze and it's out, but there are some women.
Take it as you will.
There are some women who don't really have to push that hard, and all of a sudden, here comes the baby. I know there's other women who have to go through a lot of pain as well.
One thing I am good with is pain, even now.
Obviously. Okay, well, that's the start of the story, and actually that is remarkable in itself. But what is probably more remarkable is what happened to you next, because talk to me about plucking.
Well, it all started with, really, from the birth, with postnatal depression.
Right.
Because I did suffer with that, which, no one's surprised after an ordeal like that.
Absolutely
but
not.
I wasn't aware that's what I was suffering with until...
How did you feel?
I got on with it and I loved her, and I know I did, but probably, if I was honest with myself, I wasn't sort of happy. Weren't being Charlotte. Do you know what I mean? I lost who Charlotte was.
Well, come on, what a change! We can all massively sympathise with you. What a change! You didn't even know you were going to have a baby. Charlotte had gone, really, because you now weren't Charlotte, the 16-year-old. You were mum. Exactly,
but last time, like before I had Louise, I was a child, really.
Yeah.
So as an adult now.
Well, David Cameron famously said it was children bringing up children, and that was the big problem. And you really, that's where you found yourself. You were a child bringing up a child.
And I am proud of myself for that, because now I look back. And at the time I didn't realise I was that young and immature, but really I must have done something right, because she's turned into a amazing young
I'm
girl.
so pleased you've said that, because we very often pick at teenage mothers and we say they're the root of all evil, but actually to turn around and say, you know, I've had a child, I've stuck by my child, I've tried really hard, and look what she's turned into, and I'm proud of myself. Well, good for you. Good for you. I know postnatal depression can be different for all different women, and I think men probably never quite understand that very complex and very hard relationship when you cannot bond with your child. When you looked at your baby, what did you think?
I think that really, like, I'd like to dress her up. Similar to how, like, with a doll, really, you know. And I know she wasn't a doll, but really I used to love going out and showing her off and that. But I just couldn't believe that for the rest of my life, this is my responsibility. I don't think I really thought that. But, you know, it took all these years to realise that that is my job, really.
Let's talk about plucking, because plucking is interesting. It's strange. It's bizarre. I've seen the pictures in the paper, and the damage you've done to yourself.
The story went with the plucking the hairs. If that was my only problem, then I wouldn't be in the trouble I am now. It's more the dermatillomania side, which is the skin picking side of it, which is where the damage I caused to my skin from trying to get a hair, which is probably to anybody else so minute that they couldn't see it, but to me it's there. The damage I caused trying to get it with tweezers, because it's near enough impossible to get, I suppose. I then have a wound, which then I will pick, and I just...
Why do you pick? What is it about hair that you want to get rid of?
I really see my hair on my head. I had a lot of comments from the story saying, why have I got a full head of hair then? Well, I have got a full head of hair, but my hair was about 20 inches longer than this, and I had it all cut off to, like, well, just below my ears, and I scrape it back on a daily basis, really, to keep it out of my way.
Do you not like hair?
I don't know what it is about hair. I think it's because I was told at school I had bushy eyebrows.
Yeah.
So it did start with plucking my eyebrows, and then I sort of thought I had, like, granny hairs, they call them, on your chin, and then... But it sort of then went for infected follicles. Yeah. And I think everyone likes a little nip here and there. Everyone does. But I just took it to the extreme.
I'm so pleased you're on. I'm so pleased you're on the programme, because it's really important to talk about the names that people are called in the playground and the impression they have of themselves at an early age, and how that influences their choices throughout the rest of their life. So people are saying, you've got hairy eyebrows, you've got bushy eyebrows, and all of a sudden this just builds up inside you into something, and you want to sort these eyebrows out, so you just pluck, and then that goes wider to other parts of the body.
Well, yeah, it's because the eyebrows, obviously, you know, a lot of people pluck their eyebrows, but then it went to parts of the body where, you know, I could hide them. I don't know why I started doing it, but it is OCD. That's what the actual, you know, illness I have is OCD. So obviously an obsessive compulsion to do things. And when people say OCD, they say, oh, you must have a really clean house. But the thing that really, really gets to me is OCD is not just about cleaning. It's really not. Yeah. You know, you can have OCD and do a wide range of things.
If there's a hair on your arm now, how would you feel?
Well, I've got hairs on my... It's not the general hair. It's the ones that look like they shouldn't be there. Yeah. It's the imperfections. So but in my mind, I feel like by removing it, I will make it look better.
But if there was a hair there that shouldn't be there, that you felt shouldn't be there, talk to me about this energy building up inside you. You've got to get rid of it.
Sometimes I used to go to the toilet just to go in there and pretend I'd been to the loo just so I could get it. Like, flush the toilet, and pretend that I'd been, just because the urge of getting it would become so great that I had to, but then there'd be another one. So it didn't solve the problem, really, because there'll always be another one.
And then, of course, there's a wound. That wound can get infected. You start picking the wound. The problem exacerbates.
But, you know, I suppose, but I like the pus as well. I know it sounds disgusting, it really does, but I'm not the only one. A lot of people.
It doesn't sound disgusting at all. It does not sound disgusting at all. And I tell you why I'm really keen on this programme to push this forward. You've come on, you've been so brave this morning, and you've got my respect 110%.
I feel I have to be, because... Yeah. I feel like if I can turn this negative thing that's happening to me into a positive thing by even one person who's listening to this realising that they're not alone, and they're, you know, what they're doing isn't just, you know, something that they do just as themselves, that it is actually help out there. It's not something that...
Absolutely. There are people who pick their toenails, people who pick their feet, people who bite their fingers, who chew their toenails, who eat their earwax, whatever. There's lots of people like that.
So, exactly.
And it's human being behaviour. That's what it is.
But it's when, you know, people need to know the dangers and know the signs for when it can get to much more than that.
Yeah.
I believe that probably there were small signs of it when I was a child, but if there had been more out there, then maybe someone could have picked up on it.
And they could have helped you sooner. I think you're right.
Before it got to this.
Yes, because you're demonstrating those kind of behavioural traits. Oh, this sounds awful. Have you got any wounds you can show me? Can you show me on your body an example of what you...
Open wound?
Well, just an example of what you've done, what your excessive...
I always get...
I should say... Okay, so you've got your breast. So just show me your breast.
And my legs.
And your legs as well. Okay.
They don't look so bad when they're slightly healed.
Okay, I've seen them.
I'm
okay.
having a good couple of days, really,
yeah.
so it's not too bad.
But on your breast as well, which you've just shown me, then it looks like, to me, there's been a wound, a flesh wound, and then the skin's healed over the top, and it's left what's quite... forgive me for saying this, what people would say is an unattractive red pimple.
Oh, God. Yeah, but that's not where it stops, because then a hair may grow out of the scar. And then some of these have got, if you look into them, they're like, you know, rings of a tree.
This one's on your breast.
And then they get deeper as they get to the middle.
Yeah, I can see. And they look nasty. They actually look quite painful.
This is where they're having a high pain barrier go in my favour.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you go into a trance state, where when I started picking was like when my daughter started full-time school and my partner was out to work, and one day I just started randomly plucking little hairs off my fingers, and I didn't really used to have that many hairs there to start with, but now they grow really long and coarse.
Yes.
So obviously once you start plucking them, then they grow back, you know, long and coarse, and then you then have to carry on. What
happened when your daughter came back home? Did it stop instantly?
Oh, yeah, I used to, when she took her to school, then I used to get into that trance state, which I used to do everything to stop it happening, but then once it starts, you know, anything from like a knock at the door would maybe get me out of it, but 6 hours could have passed, and before I knew it was 5 to 3 and I was nearly late to pick her up. Never late, but just 6 hours of the day just wasted.
What do your family say? Because you're a very attractive woman, so your partner could argue, or your husband...
hopefully.
Soon to be, who's zipping his lips because he's not going to speak, which I respect, but maybe you can nod at me. Does it hurt you that she's doing this to her body? Yeah, okay.
He doesn't understand it either. He asks, what, you know, why... But if I knew, then I've never thought, I'll stop it today.
Yeah. Are you confident that you will get to a point where you can stop?
I don't think I'll ever be like
cured.
But I want to become in control of it rather than it controlling me. It depends. Like if an alcoholic quits drink and then something bad happens in their life, they may turn to drink to, you know, get through it. This is my way of dealing with anxiety, because I've got like anxiety and social phobia.
Right, okay.
Which is similar to agoraphobia.
And sorry, social phobia is when you don't feel confident around people.
On my own, I won't go into public spaces or outside to the shop.
Yeah, you're brilliant. When you come into this radio studio this morning, you appear confident, you put your point of view across wonderfully well. You come across as being warm, friendly, intelligent, loving. You've even had your breasts out in my studio this morning. So obviously you could argue you don't come across as being shy.
But that's my problem. That's not a good thing, because people, I can really hide how I'm really feeling really easily. Yeah, when I was a child, I used to do amateur dramatics, and I used to love it. Yeah. And the only time I used to feel really confident is when I was on the stage playing someone else. And I suppose this is like how people expect me to be. So on a day when I don't feel like being like this, I would rather hide away, because if not, people say, "What's wrong with you?" Well, I may just feel like being quiet, but because I never go outside and see people when I'm feeling like quiet and like I just can't put on the front, they don't understand that. They just think that's me being a bit funny.